Hello, Flatwound strings. Don't they sound great? Fender stainless steel. You see those? Fender stainless steel flatwound long scale strings, guitar strings. These are 45s, which means that the low E is 100, which I think people say that's like medium gauge or light gauge or something. A lot of people play 105s, which are the heavier ones. 100 gauge or 45 as they put it here. I'm going to find the packet, is what they call them, Fender call them. They're really good strings. They weren't very expensive either. They're about £23 I think from Amazon, but they're really cool. Now, don't normally talk about strings because they're one of those things that, you know, they're just a consumable that you like, and it's very, very subjective. Something that I like, someone else might not like. Something that someone finds very comfortable, I might find terribly uncomfortable. In all the time I've been playing bass, I'd never played flatwound strings before. They're just something that I'd never gone near. I've always played kind of rock type music, and you know, that sort of round wound string sound is very important. It's the sort of intrinsic bass tone for rock and for punk and that kind of thing, where it's got that attacky trebly sound. But I was very curious about about flatwounds. So I thought I'd get a packet and see how I got on. Labella and Thomas Dick seem to be sort of the highest, and you know, the best regarded flatwound strings you can buy. I decided to buy Fender ones because I've heard good things about these, and whereas like Labellas can be like £50 a set or something, these were half that price, less than half that price. So I ordered these from Amazon. They came within a couple of days. And they're really good. They're really interesting strings to play. Now, the first bass that I put these on was my Mexican Jazz Deluxe, which is my main bass, my gigging bass that I play in the band most of the time. And these arrived in the week, put them on. We had a gig on Friday, didn't even have the chance to practice with them on whichever day it was to practice. So I thought, I'm going to put them on, I'm going to take them to the gig, I'm going to give them a go. I'm going to take another bass with me just in case I don't like them. I can swiftly sort of swap over. So I put them on. They sounded really good at home. Got into the gig environment. Sound check. I thought, not really sure. Let's give it a go. See how it, see how we get on. Did sort of 3 or 4 songs in the first set. With the overdrive and everything that I used, and I didn't like the sound of them. They sounded muddy, there's lack of definition, really boomy. I said to one of the guys in the band, how does it sound, how does the bass sound? And he was like, yeah, it sounds great. So I thought, okay, I'll stick with it. But by the end of the first half of the set, before the break, I was thinking, yeah, these are not really working. Now, I know that flatwound strings can work very well in a rock environment. Some of my favourite bass players, you know, Paul McCartney, John Paul Jones, they all play flatwounds, you know. I think most people think of flatwounds, they think of like Motown, people like James Jamerson, they think of sort of funk, they think of reggae, blues, country, something, you know, genres that need a very warm, smooth, round tone in the bass. But you know, I think there's nothing to say you can't use them in a rock environment. People like the guy from Greta Van Fleet, who are sort of classic rock, you know, modern classic rock. He plays flatwounds. So I know that it can work. I just need to figure out the EQing really, because that's the important thing to make the sound stand out. Because the sound I was getting was really boomy and lacked any sort of punch, and it wasn't right on the night. So at half time, I switched to my other jazz bass, which had roundwounds on it, and that's what I completed the set with, and that sounded much better. So I thought I would take the flatwounds off the jazz and put them onto my 51 Precision, which is this one. This is the Harley Benton one that I customised, the Dulcie bass now it's called, which is the one. This was basically a Harley Benton PB50 precision bass, which there's other videos I've made that you'll find about me customizing this. But because this is an old-fashioned bass, and because when this design first came out in the early 50s, the only strings you could get were flatwound strings, so I thought I'll put the flats on, which was probably always my intention anyway with this, put the flats on and see how I get on. Sounds really good, you know, it's got that punchy, boomy, not boomy, so it's got a, I think in the other video I said the pickup on this, which is the Roswell pickup, it's got a really nice sort of full, rich bottom end, which sounds great, and with these flatwound strings it sounds really good. The little bit I just played at the beginning was the very poor rendition of the sort of the middle eight section of Lady Madonna by the Beatles. Paul McCartney's my favourite bass player of all time, and on the Beatles recordings he tended to use flatwound strings, and it just sort of works really well. It's got that nice sort of nice warm, it's got that nice sort of round kind of, you know, if you sort of play it, if you mute it a bit, you get that sort of quite a pulsing sort of sound. And what I really like about it, which takes some getting used to, because the feel takes some getting used to, because they're just smooth. You know, roundwounds, obviously they've got the coil and there's a bit of abrasion, bit of a texture, and when you sort of rub the strings, you hear that sort of crackly squeak that you get from guitar strings. But because these are flat, they're just like a tape around a core as opposed to a wire around a core, and they're dead smooth, so there's no finger noise at all. Even with the treble up full, there's really negligible finger noise, which I like because I hate finger noise. And I think a lot of finger noise is down to bad technique, and I'm not the most amazing bass player in the world, so my technique's not great, so I do get quite a lot of finger noise and stuff, which you don't hear it in the mix of a rock band, but when I play in isolation it's a bit annoying. I'm always trying to avoid that by, instead of sliding to notes, I'm always trying to sort of do the notes individually so I don't have to slide and then get that squeaky sound. So I could get into bad habits on these because they're so totally smooth and there's no finger noise, but they're really nice. It's really rich. I know the pickup on this helps. The amp, by the way, I'm playing through is an Ashdown 20 watt practice amp, but they're just really nice, you know. They've got that really sort of jazzy, that nice sort of really full sound. And obviously this instrument was designed originally to be sort of an alternative to the double bass for bass players. You know, it was designed to be something more easy to amplify and more portable. But obviously the bass players of the time didn't want anything radical tone wise, they wanted it to sound like the instruments that they knew, so it does sound very double bassy. Even up high, it's got that sort of, you know, so it's, yeah, I really like them. I think on this bass they sound great. This bass probably won't get used in my band because it's not really right for the sound, I think, of the band. I think the pickup, as nice as the pickup is, it's not right. It would need something like a more traditional P-bass split pickup to have that sort of more clunky sort of sound that I like. I tried this in rehearsals with roundwounds, didn't really sound where I wanted it to be. So, but I've got other projects in mind, bass playing wise, and this bass guitar with flatwounds on it, it's going to be perfect. Sounds really nice. And I think for the projects I've got in mind for it, which are more sort of, you know, sort of old school genres, I think this will be ideal. Two things to say before I go, because I was trying to keep this under 10 minutes, it's not going to be, but let's have a really quick look at what I'm going to say. Silks. I hate silks on strings. I'm sorry, but I just think they look terrible. I mean, this has got green ones on them and they're fraying already. And I just think, you know, I don't know why they put silks on strings. You know, the Ernie Ball slinkies that I use and the D'Addario XLs that I use on roundwounds, they don't have silk on them. Are silks only on flatwounds? I don't know. But I think they look rubbish. I think, you know, you get a really nice looking bass and then you get some random colour in there that just throws it off totally. So I don't like silks, I think they look rubbish. So that's that. Now the other thing you can do, I haven't got any foam at hand, I have got a little tea towel. What I'm going to do is do what some of the old 60s, 50s sort of R&B players used to do. They used to whack a bit of foam under the strings, which I'm going to attempt to do as quick as I can, and that gives you that really nice sort of dead, muted sound. See that? And that's a totally open string. There's no overtones to it, there's no sustain to it, it's just a thud. So it's just got that really nice. And I bet if you turn the bass up, which I won't do because it'll annoy the neighbours, that would really rock the windows and volume. So yeah, so a little bit of, there it is. Looks ugly. There are more aesthetically pleasing ways of doing that, but anyway, that's the sound that I wanted to show you as well. So that's it. So yeah, so Fender stainless steel flatwound strings, they're really good. I really like them. They're not for everything. They don't work on every genre. They don't really work on every bass, perhaps. It's a subjective thing. They certainly work on this bass, and I'm going to have a lot of fun playing with them when I come to do the other stuff that I intend to do with them. Thank you.